Welcome to Everything Explained. I'm your host. Today we ask a big question: why don't Kurds have their own nation? The Kurds are an ethnic group living mainly in 4 countries: Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria, plus a large diaspora. They share language, culture, and a long history, but they don't have a country called Kurdistan. The story isn't simple. It's a mix of old empires, new borders, wars, and tricky politics. In this episode we'll trace the main layers, the promises made after World War I, how modern states drew borders, how Kurdish politics rose and clashed with those borders, and what the current map looks like. We'll also use a few clear analogies to keep it understandable. After World War I, empires fell. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, and 2 big agreements tried to map the future: Sykes-Picot and Sèvres, and later Lausanne. Sèvres in 1920 even talked about a Kurdish state. But it never happened. Lausanne in 1923 recognized the borders that became Turkey, and the Kurdish request for a nation was left out. So a dream of a Kurdish homeland collided with the reality of the new states lining up on a map. Inside Turkey, the government wanted control over the new nation. Kurdish language, culture, and politics were often restricted. Rebellions in the 1920s and later, like Sheikh said in 1925, were harshly put down. The idea of an independent Kurdistan was a threat to the Turkish national project. This created a pattern: ethnic identity outside the state was seen as disloyalty. That set the stage for decades of conflict rather than a peaceful path to nationhood. In Iraq, the story was different but still not a simple nation-state for Kurds. After the 1991 Gulf War, Kurds in Iraqi Kurdistan enjoyed a de facto autonomy under a protected zone. The 2005 Iraqi constitution created the Kurdistan Regional Government, an acknowledged autonomous region inside Iraq, with its own parliament and security forces. But autonomy is not the same as a country. And the central government still governs Iraq as a united state. The 2014 to 2017 fight against ISIS deepened Kurdish self-rule but also raised tensions with Baghdad and neighboring states. In 2017, Iraqi Kurdistan held a referendum on independence. The vote was overwhelming in favor, but it did not become a country. Iraq, Turkey, Iran, and many Western powers urged caution. They feared regional instability and a domino effect. So the referendum did not translate into statehood. It highlighted the Kurdish desire and the geopolitical pushback from neighbors who don't want any border shifts. Meanwhile in Syria, Kurds carved out an autonomous zone in 3 provinces, called Rojava. They built local councils, languages and schools, and security forces like the YPG and later the SDF with US support against ISIS. But their dream of an independent Kurdistan was again blocked by Syria's government and by Turkey, which sees Kurdish militias near its border as a threat. Syria's borders are a separate question, and international recognition for a Kurdish state there would trigger more regional risk. In Iran, Kurds are a sizable minority in several provinces. Iran has fought to keep a tight lid on any separatist movements. The state emphasizes central authority and Persian identity, leaving little space for a Kurdish nation emerging across its northern territories. Inside Kurdish politics, there are competing visions. The KDP and PUK in Iraq, the PKK in Turkey, PYD in Syria, all want influence in different countries. They sometimes cooperate and sometimes clash. Those rivalries weaken a unified Kurdish push for statehood and complicate relations with the countries they live in. The idea of one Kurdistan across 4 states becomes harder when the communities disagree on leadership, strategy, and alliances. So the short answer is, it isn't a lack of desire, but a hard math of world politics. Geography, borders, power, fear of instability, and opposition from neighbors and great powers keep a single Kurdish nation off the map. There are gains, too: recognized autonomy in Iraq, some cultural rights in Turkey and Iran, and growing Kurdish political power in different regions. But forming a single independent nation requires broad international consent, something that doesn't exist today. The Kurdish story shows how national identity can be powerful even when it doesn't map neatly onto the modern state system. The question remains open: what future will bring? Could there be a negotiated solution, more autonomy, or even a recognized state one day? Only time will tell, and it will demand dialogue across borders, respect for rights, and patience in the face of geopolitics. The hopeful takeaway: nationhood isn't just about a flag, it's about people, culture, representation, and a peaceful path to self-determination. Stay curious, stay hopeful, and keep asking the big questions about identity and justice.